Welcome back, everyone, to There's Ups and Downs, a parental wellness series. I hope you enjoyed session one and that you were able to take a few things away from that session, including, do I have enough social support? And, how could I get some more? How could I spend some more time with people who energize me and make me feel less stressed? So today we're going to be talking about, in session two, the topic of mindfulness. And I'm probably going to say this about every topic that we talk about in this course, in this series, but this is definitely one of my favorites to talk about, not only because it's been so helpful for me, but also because it's definitely one of the most powerful self-care strategies that parents have at their disposal. So it's just a very, very powerful strategy, which we're going to find out more about in the next couple of minutes here. So Jon Kabat-Zinn adapted the spiritual practice of mindfulness meditation into a secular medical application. So he is the professor of medicine emeritus at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. And he basically was able to come up with this mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And it's important to talk about first, too, that contemplative practices like meditation or prayer are a part of all major religions. And so in this case, the way in which the door opened to the secular form of mindfulness practice was via Buddhism. But really, it could have, happened via many other religions as well. So you may have noticed, for those of you who are familiar with mindfulness, or have maybe just even heard the term, that it's actually becoming quite mainstream. And it's really not unlike the way in which the Hindu practice of yoga has become quite mainstream. So it really, in this program, we're going to be talking about mindfulness in the secular sense. So the one that's been adapted, like Jon Kabat-Zinn first did, to help us all maintain or develop health and wellness. So that's kind of the sense in which we're talking about it. So he made this program and applied it to people with a variety of physical and mental health conditions, everything from cardiovascular disease to cancer to chronic fatigue syndrome. It was an 8-week training group, and the people who engaged in this mindfulness-based stress reduction program did it for 20 to 45 minutes a day, and that was found to be very effective. Now, don't panic. I am not going to be asking you to engage in mindfulness for 20 to 45 minutes a day, so please don't turn off the video right now. You can do a lot less than that and still get good benefits. So yeah, let's keep going. So in terms of a definition of mindfulness, essentially it is awareness that arises through paying close attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So let's go through each of those parts, because there were sort of three there. So this idea of paying attention on purpose is really purposefully attending to your surroundings and what's going on around you, or the object of focus for the particular practice that you're engaged in. The second part is about paying attention in the present moment. So that is essentially focusing on what's happening right now, not earlier today or even 5 seconds ago, or, what things are on your grocery list that you have to get later. This is, as you can imagine, much easier said than done. So that kind of mindfulness is being a moment by moment experiencing of the breath or the sights or the sounds around you. So non-judgmentally means going easy on yourself if your mind drifts away from the object of your practice for that moment, from what you are attending to, and not becoming sort of frustrated when that happens. Again, a little easier said than done, but we're going to start learning how to do that today. So general effects of mindfulness, there's definitely really good overall benefits for anybody, whether you're a parent of a child with Down syndrome or not, for engaging in a regular mindfulness practice. So here are a few of them, so that it helps to establish mental well-being and balance. And so there are 4 aspects to that. The first one being conation. And this is sort of how well your intentions to do something and your actual doing of something actually align. So as you develop more of a mindfulness practice, those 2 things should come together a little more often. So if I think to myself, I'm definitely going to work out later, that's for sure what I'm going to do, that's my intention. If I actually do the workout later, which, may or may not happen, that's my action. So if I'm practicing mindfulness on a regular basis, those will hopefully come together more often. And I think they do, actually. I'm just reflecting now on how it's happened for me. It definitely doesn't work all the time, especially with the workout example, but it definitely does. They do tend to align a bit more often. So attention is being able to be attentive in that moment to what is relevant in that moment. A cognition is being able to grab for in the back of your brain and use knowledge that's pertinent to the moment at hand. And this one is really important for parents, right? So especially parents who are learning strategies for dealing with tricky situations, like when your child is engaging in problem behavior, remembering what to do and actually being able to do it in a stressful moment is really tricky, but you should be able to do that with more ease. You should be able to think through a situation more clearly if you are engaging in a regular mindfulness practice, even if the situation is a stressful one. And then emotion, so controlling one's feelings in the moment. I would say this is the one that I've noticed the biggest improvement in me personally. So, I've been practicing mindfulness for probably about 7 years now. It really tends to slow everything down. So this idea of, not becoming swept up in emotion has been really helpful for me. I tend to be a bit of a high energy, high strung person. And sometimes I get a little bit more upset about little things than I probably should. So it definitely has helped me kind of slow that down a little bit. If there's a problematic situation, I find now that I can think through it more clearly. I can kind of take a step back, and it seems to kind of slow everything down enough that I can actually rationally go through some steps in my mind rather than becoming swept up in the emotion of the moment or the stress of the moment. So there are definitely really good benefits to mindfulness if you're practicing it on a regular basis. So mindfulness in parenting then, it can definitely positively impact parenting. So one of the ways it does that is increased acceptance of your child with Down syndrome. There may be some of you out there who are still struggling with this. Some people, can accept their child with Down syndrome quite early after the child is born. Some people, it takes many years to do this. And so if you're a parent where it takes many years, first of all, know right away, here's one of my take-home messages for the whole series: you're not alone. There are lots of parents who continue to struggle with the fact that their child has Down syndrome well after the child is, a baby. So it can definitely help with that. Of course, increased self-care, right? So it'll help you be more relaxed. It gives you even just a few minutes to yourself every day, if you could manage to squeeze those in. And, the improved presence during parenting tasks. So this is what I was just talking about with regards to myself. It slows everything down in stressful situations so that you can keep a clear head. It helps you keep yourself regulated. And then, this woman here, she's practicing her mindfulness and she's going to live in the moment, but otherwise I'm just going to eat a cookie. And that's okay too. Sometimes it's okay to just eat the cookie, honestly. Okay, so let's talk about research, because there is lots now on mindfulness in families. So there have been many positive effects that have been found. There's been actually so much, I just have to mention, there's been so much research on mindfulness that it has its own journal now, its own scientific journal, which is just, kind of astounding for a fairly new, it's not a new concept because of course it was developed thousands of years ago, but in the health and wellness kind of general application space, it is a relatively new thing, but it's really well researched. So one of the things that it can really help with is if you are a parent who has another parent around, so a dual parent household, you definitely can enjoy better marital satisfaction and adjustment. If you have a fight with each other, it helps you get over it a bit faster. And improved communication with each other. I mean, those things all sound pretty good. And then look at this next one. So for parents of kids with autism and other developmental disabilities who are given that mindfulness-based stress reduction program I was talking about earlier, reduced stress, depression, and anxiety scores. I mean, fantastic. And who doesn't want improved sleep and improved life satisfaction? I mean, I think we could all go for some of that. And you know, I always think of it'd be great if if you looked like this when you were practicing mindfulness within your household, but often I imagine that it actually looks more like this lady here. So, you know, whatever, as long as she can get her few minutes of mindfulness, that's really all that matters. So let's go on to just one example from all of this massive amount of research I was just talking about. So one specific example was a study where they looked at 4 mother-child dyads, so pairs. The children all had developmental disabilities and they all had quite severe problem behavior. So meaning they were aggressive towards themselves or other people. They were given a 12-week parent training program in which they were taught just mindfulness. So no positive behavior support strategies, none of that kind of stuff. They just were taught mindfulness practices. So the results were pretty astounding. So the parents had increased satisfaction with their parenting skills. And I mean, you definitely want this kind of, you know, satisfaction with parenting skills, but also your confidence in your parenting skills. Like I can do stuff well. I'm a good parent. That's a really powerful thing if you can develop that and maintain that. And then improve social interactions with their kids. The kids had lower amounts of problem behavior and also increased adaptive or pro-social behavior. So in other words, less of the stuff that they shouldn't have been doing and more of the stuff that they should be doing. And what I find so powerful about this particular study is that that was true. That happened even though the kids were never directly addressed in the intervention. So it was really just that the mums were given this mindfulness training and that's it. And then they engaged in it on a regular basis. And you are going to be learning the same 4 mindfulness practices that they learned in this program. You're going to be learning the same ones. So these same effects could happen to you and your kids. And wouldn't that be fantastic? So here's just one little fun visual to end off on. Do you want your mind to be full or do you want to be mindful? So if we think about who's enjoying their walk more there, it's probably the dog, right? Because he's actually focused on all the fun things that are happening around him and focused on just what's happening during that particular moment. This is exactly what I mean by moment experiencing of what's going on around you. Whereas his dad, not so much, right? He's definitely, his mind is just plain full and not of very good things, it doesn't look like, which I think happens a lot to a lot of us if we let it. So let's talk about the process now. So most commonly, mindfulness consists of observing and focusing on your breath. So you're going to be feeling the breath, and we're going to practice this in a few minutes. You're going to be feeling the breath moving naturally in and out of your body. So again, that moment by moment experiencing, there is an expectation that the mind will wander, right? This is definitely going to happen. And when it does, you just bring it back to the breath. Gently and without judgment. And I should mention that your mind wandering will likely get a little bit better over time, but honestly, it's just what minds like to do. And so, you know, I think you would ask even somebody who'd been practicing mindfulness their whole life if their mind still wandered, and it would, right? It's just what they like to do, basically, but it might over time get a little less busy when you're practicing mindfulness. So when it does that, you're going to bring it back to the breath gently and without judgment. You're not going to beat yourself up about, oh man, why did my thoughts go all over the place like that? That's so crazy. You're just going to kind of keep going, focusing on your breath. And you're going to start with just 5 to 10 minutes a day. And I would suggest, if you've never done mindfulness before, to just start with 5 and build up really slowly from there. And, thankfully, I won't be asking you to find your center during our mindfulness practice today, or you might wind up like this poor donut guy. I feel really bad for him. Okay, so there are a couple of apps that may be able to, that will help you out if this is not something you've done before. There are these guided practices available online. So these are both apps, the Headspace app and the Calm app. The Headspace app actually is now available also on Netflix. So even though these are both paid subscription apps, although there are free elements on both where you can just try it out, and honestly, that's probably about all you need. You don't need all the bells and whistles. So, but if you go on Netflix, you can get the Headspace stuff for free. So I think, either of these are good. If you like sort of more like nice sounds to listen to and that kind of thing, water sounds, there's a bunch of different kind of scenes on the Calm app that may be appealing if that's something you really like, if you like kind of nature sounds and that kind of thing. Headspace has less of that, but actually I might argue that that's a bit better because we are just trying to focus on our breath, right? So yeah, so I think the other one that I wanted to mention was if you just go onto YouTube and write in the Honest Guys, they also have some mindfulness meditation practices on there as well. So we're going to actually try this now. I'm going to take you through a 5-minute sitting mindfulness meditation. And so what I want you to do is make sure that you're sitting comfortably usually in a chair, although you can really be, you can be sitting on the floor cross-legged if that's something that appeals to you. That if that's a way that you usually sit, then that's fine. Otherwise, a chair is perfectly okay. But before we begin, we just need to make sure we're sitting comfortably and with dignity. That's how we like to think about it. So that means trying not to slouch. So you want to be sitting straight, but not with too much rigidity either. I find it helps to sit a bit forward of the back of your chair just to help with alertness during this practice, especially if you're new. The bottoms of your feet should be flat on the floor, and your hands can be folded in your lap or resting palms down on your lap. And as we begin, you can either now close your eyes, or you can gaze down at about a 45-degree angle. You should have a soft focus, so not staring at what's in front of you, but rather keeping a soft gaze. And I do find it helpful to have my eyes open rather than closed, because in mindfulness, it's about becoming more aware and alert and awake, but do whatever feels most comfortable for you. And we're just going to start with a couple of deep breaths. So in and out. And you can keep going with that while I continue to talk a bit. So as you do that, you'll feel your body start to soften. You might start to become more aware of physical sensations you're having. You might feel the weight of your body on the chair, the soles of your feet on the floor, how your hands feel in your lap. You'll probably start to notice some of the sounds in the room, and some might be very prominent now, and yet this is the first time you're aware of them. And so now just let your breathing go back to normal if you haven't done so already. At this point, we're not trying to change anything about our breath, just bringing our awareness to it. So no need now to breathe deeply or differently in any way. Just the plain old way you always breathe is fine. You may want to focus on one aspect of your breath. So the air going in and out of your nose, the rise and fall of your chest, your stomach moving in and out. Wherever you feel the sensation of the breath most is where you will likely focus. What you want to do now is silently count each breath. So on each exhale, count 1, 2, and so on. Count to 10 breaths and then start again at 1. You will soon notice that your mind is wandering. This is normal and natural. It's just what the mind does. You may find yourself thinking about what you need to do later today, about everything you need to do tomorrow, about something that happened earlier today. But gently and without judgment, bring your awareness back to your breath. You may have to do this again and again. And each time you bring your awareness back to your breathing, you can start your count again at 1. You don't have to try to remember where you left off before. We'll try this now for just a couple minutes. I'm going to be quiet so that we can focus on counting our breaths. So now just bring your attention back to the physical sensations in your body. Notice the sounds and the space around you and how your body feels sitting in your chair. You can gently open your eyes if you have them closed. And I like to have a little stretch. Hopefully you are still actually watching the video now and haven't fallen asleep, but that can definitely happen. This might have also happened to you. You might have had these kinds of thoughts. I particularly like the two in the right-hand corner about the I'm hungry and I want chips. I feel like those are thoughts that go around in my brain a lot. Maybe not chips, but yeah, food of some kind for sure. So, but this is just an illustration of what tends to happen. And this is to all of us. So definitely don't feel badly if this was something that happened to you today. mindfulness can feel a little bit strange in the beginning. And so even if it feels a little bit strange, even when I was just taking you through it right now, if you're thinking, what am I doing right now? Like, why would this help me? You might have been having those thoughts. And, those are actually completely normal thoughts to be having. I urge you to stick with it. And definitely try some of the guided practices, because I think that if you try right away in the beginning to just sit by yourself and focus on your breath without anybody talking in the background to guide you, that can be a little bit daunting or even a little bit more strange. And you might have even more trouble keeping your mind focused on your breath. So give one of those guided practices a try. So let's just talk about some of the other kinds of mindfulness practices really briefly. Today, of course, we just did this about 5 minutes of a sitting mindfulness meditation. And over the course of this parental wellness series, you're also going to be learning a loving kindness mindfulness meditation, which is just a delightful form of mindfulness. It's definitely I think it is my favorite one. It's the one I come back to again and again and again. It's about self-compassion, but also compassion towards others around you, even people who you love for sure, but people who you love and are having a little bit of a difficult time with. Loving kindness is really wonderful for addressing some of those things. Compassionate abiding mindfulness meditation can be particularly helpful for parents who are dealing with kids who are driving them a little bit bonkers, because it can help you abide with those kind of negative feelings that you likely have, some of the time about your kids. And then a leaves on the stream meditation, which is a little bit of a different one. And we'll be doing that one near the end of our sessions together. Also very lovely. That one's one of the favorites for all the kids I work with. The teens and adults, they really like this one. The teens and adults with Down syndrome who I work with on mental health stuff, they really like the leaves on a stream one because it's more a visualization one. So it can be it's kind of a fun one. So there's also something known as a walking mindfulness meditation. And this one, obviously, because this is a video series, it's going to be kind of hard to do in terms of, to talk about. We can't actually do it together right now, unless I take you for a walk with my laptop. But I just want to urge you right now, it happens to be kind of getting into springtime in Vancouver. And surrounding areas. And I am really looking forward to seeing some of these beautiful cherry blossoms like in this picture. So because we are all hopefully going to be heading outside a little bit more, this is something that you can actually do when you are headed outside. So instead of just plugging, trying to make a call while you're going for a walk, or, plugging in a podcast immediately, or not that there's anything wrong with podcasts. Podcasts are great. There's a place for everything here. But sometimes could you just pay attention to your surroundings? So instead of listening to something or thinking about things actively, can you just appreciate what's happening around you? What smells are coming to you? What sounds do you hear? What are the beautiful sights around you? The trees, what do the trees look like? What do the flowers look like? Those kinds of things. If you can pay attention to your surroundings like that while taking some nice smooth breaths and walking maybe at a bit of a slower pace, feeling how your feet feel on the ground, what's the temperature like on your skin, these kinds of things. Even if you park a little bit further away from the grocery store and just do this as you're headed into the grocery store. I mean, the scenery might not be quite as great, but you can fit walking mindfulness meditations even in your home, right? As you are, wandering from room to room, putting laundry away, for example. Again, you can feel your feet on the floor. You can focus on how you're breathing. So this is a really good one for people who think, I do not have time even for 5 minutes to sit, but everybody has to walk a little bit. So could you unplug for a little bit and try this out instead? So, and Headspace actually does have a guided walking meditation if you wanted to check that one out. So, and this is my last little point, is that look how relaxed you can be if you engage in a regular mindfulness practice. I mean, how awesome is this, right? Don't you want that? That's really your take-home message, but here are a few more. So I want you to try between this session and the next time you watch a video, hopefully about a week from now, I want you to try engaging in a regular mindfulness practice. Try to do 5 minutes a day, 3 or 4 days this week to start out with. You want to aim for 5 to 10 minutes most days of the week. That will give you a good benefit. Try both the sitting, where you focus on the breath, much like we just did, and walking. And this is just like I said, you know, paying attention to your surroundings and what's happening around you. And remembering that even if it feels a bit weird, to stick with it, because engaging in a regular mindfulness practice has many benefits for parents. So self-care and relaxation, increased presence and patience during parenting tasks. I mean, that would be great. And improve child behavior, right? I mean, these are all pretty great things. So on that note, here are again a few references and resources, and I will look forward to seeing everybody next week, where we are going to be talking about self-care and some more self-care activities. Mindfulness is one, but we're going to be talking about a bunch of other options, as well as how to squeeze it into your very packed days. Okay, take care, everybody.